According to OUTA, businesses which fund the system through the 1% skills development levy on payroll have steadily disengaged. A previous policy decision cut the portion of levy funds flowing back to employers via grants from 40% to 20%. This sharply reduced the incentive for companies to participate in SETA-run programs. At his State of the Nation address, President Cyril Ramaphosa announced that this will be restored to 40%, but OUTA says that change alone will not fix deeper structural problems.
Funds and the allocations that have been going to the SETAs has increased by 46% over that 13-year period, and at the same time, the output in the learnerships have reduced by 23%. So that is a massive disconnect and indicates a serious problem. Secondly, less money was given to businesses. They've recently changed it now. Well, it hasn't been implemented yet, but the president has reversed a decision that was taken some time ago where they reduced from 40% the amount of discretionary grants that goes back to business, who would then be incentivized to participate, and they pay these levies. That was reduced to 20%. And you will see then, if you check with businesses, that over time they've really checked out. They've seen this as just a tax, and they don't get involved as much as they used to. And what has happened is the more money now has gone and sat in the hands and the decision-making of these SETAs. And that's where the maladministration and corruption has taken place.
OUTA's Rudy Heinecker says they have received complaints from students on their hotline. He says the main complaints are that they do not receive their stipends, that the quality of training is not up to standard, and that the trainers do not know what they're doing.
This is a real problem because, trainers or skill development providers will be contracted by a SETA to present a specific course for, let's say, 6 months, and included in that will be a stipend for the student. And what does happen is that these skills development providers, they use that money and they don't pay the stipend to the students. So then the students, they start to ask questions. They will be tagged along, and then they will stop going to class and get the training. So that surely does have an influence on the outcomes. And then you will see that some of these skills development providers, they just pop up like mushrooms, and they are not really qualified. They get there through cronyism, through jobs for pals, and so forth. And all of a sudden, they will have 100 students for a specific course. They will get the stipends, they will get the grants, but there's no training taking place.
Education expert Professor Mary Metcalf also highlights structural weaknesses, governance issues, and the lack of clean audit outcomes. She emphasized the need to improve their effectiveness, align training with economic growth sectors, and strengthen linkages between training and employment outcomes. Professor Metcalf says there's a mismatch between skills provided by the SETAs and the needs of the South African economy.
We are not getting clean audit outcomes from all of the SETAs, and we mustn't lump them into one basket. There's some SETAs that are performing well, there's some SETAs that are not performing well. So the audit outcomes are not impressive and are worrying to the extent that we get adverse audit outcomes. Their ability to spend funds is constrained, and they are underspending. Reserves are idle. The other problem is that we have high levels of governance instability. That is both the boards and the executives of many SETAs. They're slow in terms of contracting and making payments, and there's the biggest problem. I don't know what's the biggest problem, but there's a major problem of employers believing in these SETAs and their effectiveness, and therefore being fully participatory in the structures. We've got to bring employers back to the table.
In a State of the Nation address earlier this month, President Ramaphosa undertook to reform and reduce the number of sector education training authorities, or SETAs, to improve governance, strengthen industry participation, raise the quality of training and better align skills development with the needs of the economy.
The general challenge is that the metrics are wrong. We tend to measure SETA on how many training opportunities they provided, whereas we've got to start linking appraisal of the performance of a SETA to employment outcomes, to productivity outcomes, to how their funding and what it funds is really aligned with economic growth and opportunities and employability.
To improve oversight and accountability for the billions that are disbursed through SETAs, Outers Duvenage has called for the appointment of SETA leadership to be addressed. He says the country doesn't need 21 SETAs, each with its own board, chairperson and CEO.
It's too broad and complex for the current system to continue in the way it has. And we think a complete revamp and potential, not scrapping, because you want to train youth, you want to upskill youth, but the current program or some variation of it, slight variation with a little bit of trying to clean up the corruption, we don't believe is going to fix the problem.
According to the Department of Higher Education, the National Skills Development Lever, consisting of the SETAs and the National Skills Fund's budget, is expected to increase to 27.8 billion rand in this financial year. The department launched the Just Energy Skills Desk in August of 2025 and says the funding for the Just Energy Transition Skills Development will be provided through bursaries, scholarships, occupational programs and work-integrated learning. Diabo Seto, SABC News, Johannesburg.